Hi, good morning, Tamshil.
We'll start the session in a minute.
Sure.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Is my voice clear? Just let me know in the chat section. Okay. Okay, great. So, a very warm good morning to everyone. I'm sure that you're already having a very good Sunday, but we just wanted to make it great for you and very productive. So, today with us, we have Ayush Gupta, Group Product Manager at Flipkart. He has 16 years of experience, and previously, he has worked with companies like Walmart, Tesco, AirAsia, and Target. And with all the expertise that he holds, I'm certain that in today's session, he will be sharing his great knowledge and wisdom about product management world. Welcome, Ayush.
Thank you, Tamsha. Thank you for the wonderful welcome. I'm very excited this morning to talk to you, everyone. Looking forward for this session.
Yes, yes. The stage is all yours. You can start sharing, and yes, I'll join you in the Q&A section. And just one request to everyone that please put all your questions in the Q&A section so that while we pick up the questions, it will be very easy for us. Okay, Ayush, you can start sharing your screen.
Sure, I'll start sharing my screen. Hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, thank you. To start with, first of all, again, thanks, Tamsha, and thanks, Insaid, for giving me this opportunity to speak to wonderful participants. Very excited. This is, I think, good opportunity on a Sunday morning to learn something, to share something, and I hope you will all find this session very useful, right? So today's session is about measuring product success. I'll be talking about, what product success is, how do we measure it, etc. Right? And I hope, every one of you, right, in your job would have it, day to day would have been discussing about, when you're building a product, when you're building a business, right? What does success really means? How do we identify we have succeeded or not, right? And how do we continuously improve on it, right? So things of those, these kind of questions you would have in your discussions with your team in a formal setting, teams in informal setting, over chai, lunch, or anything, right? And with your friends as well, right? When you discuss about products like not related to your job also, right? When you talk about, say, something like Facebook, some news item pop up and you start thinking about it, has Facebook done something really great? How did they succeed so well, right? How did they achieve that the success that they have got so far, right? So with that context, I would like to get into the session and begin the session, right? So what I will talk today about is what is a successful product? How can we understand a product is successful or not? Why we should measure product success? Right? A very, very important question. Being a product manager, right? We should always understand the why behind it, not just the what, right? So if you know what makes a product successful, we should also understand why we have to measure its success, right? And how do we go about measuring success, right? It's important, right? We know we have to make a product successful. We know why we have to make a product successful, but how do we go about it, right? What are the ways? What are the aspects that we should consider when measuring success of a product? And how do you choose the right measurements, right? What are some of the tips and tricks, do's and don'ts, kind of thing that we can consider uh, at the time of measuring product success, right? So let's start. I'll start with this a powerful quotation by Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of the UK or Britain during World War II. Success is not final, and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts, right? So today we are going to talk about the product success, right? But it is very important to keep in mind that success is not final, not eternal, right? It is always in a moment of time, maybe a elongated period of time, but soon you will realize that whatever you have been doing, you have to improve either that same aspect of your product or different aspect of your product to be even more successful, right? uh, when we stop our journey to being successful, our products fail, our business fail, right? So it's a continuous improvement, continuous evaluation, and that's why a success, what you achieve as an objective or a success at a particular moment or a time, is not final, right? You have to keep improving, keep progressing, and reach to greater heights, right? At the same time, right, when we talk about success, we have to also talk about failure. Whatever we do is not always successful, right? And very, very important thing is failure is not fatal, but it has a context or nuance to it, right? When you talk about failure is not fatal, as soon as long as you understand, where you failed, you have a way to come out of that failure, it is not fatal. But if you do not try and understand why you failed, if you do not take necessary actions to recover from the failure, then obviously it becomes fatal, right? It becomes detrimental for your product, it becomes detrimental for your business. And soon you'll start realizing that you're losing market share, your product is seeing a high churn rate, etc. So from that context, please understand that understanding about failure, whys of failures, and how to recover is also very important. And the success and failure we can always understand through a few of the metrics, KPIs that we will discuss about, right? And regardless whether you succeed or failure, you always have to continue, right? The the moment we stop working towards more success, or the moment we fail and we stop doing things, that's where we go out of the business, right? So you need to have a courage to continue, and your consistent efforts, and your consistency and resiliency would matter a lot, right? And it will make you successful. When I say you, means you as a professional, you as a product, you as a business, right? So with this, let me ask you this question, right? What is a successful product, right? Uh, I'm pretty sure this is a question that every one of you would have in a mind, right? How do I think about product success, right? What really success is? How can I understand that success, right? What are the components of success, right? Uh, I think if I have to simplify this, there's no one easy answer to it, saying that, if you do X and if you achieve X in Y time, you are successful. No, that's not a so simple answer to understand about a product success. But how I consider, or how I summarize is, a successful product is a function of the creator's expectation and the product that meets customer expectations or customer needs, right? So it has a very important two parts of it, right? A lot of times we only consider or think about product success only from the eyes of customer, right? Is my customer happy? Am I meeting customer needs, right? But at the same time, we have to think about other persona as well. The person who's creating or the business who's creating this product, is this product meeting their expectation, right? Then only we can understand the success of a product in a holistic way. A very simple example could be, right, when a new product gets launched, we, many a times you have seen product raise funds to uh, to fund their operations, to fund their business, reach out to more customers, right? They may be solving a lot of customer problems. And behind the scene, the founder or the creators of the product may want to have a sustainable business. But if that product is not generating enough margins, if that product is not getting enough monetization, etc., right, then it is not meeting a creator's expectation. And hence it's not becoming a successful product, right? Uh, and also a successful product, I've said about, a point in time kind of a measurement. But you have to look at success of a product in a holistic sense, right? We cannot, if you really want to understand a product success or a business success, right, then broadening our view, looking at more than one aspects is very, very important. And if we just focus that, okay, today what happened, right? Today, my churn rate is say 10%, which is way above industry standard, then my product is successful, not successful. Then it's may not be a right thing to look at it, right? So you need to give some time to understand how your product is performing. How do you, continue to measure it? And think of both ways, right? As I said, like, think of both personas, creator and customer, over a longer period of time to identify whether your product has been successful or not, right? Some of the important characteristics, I'm just saying some, not all, of a successful product are like, you can identify a product is successful when it is fit for market, right? A product that has launched earlier than its time, a product that has launched later than its time, you won't see a traction in the product, right? People or customers would not adopt it, right? So it has to be fit for market, right? And it has to target the right cohort of users, right? So it's very, very important to understand whether the product is fit for market or not, right? It, when I say fit for market, it may be solving a right use cases, but if you're targeted the wrong customer base, then your product market fit will not be there and you will not succeed, right? A product has to be efficient in solving customer problems, right? So for example, we would be using products like Make My Trip, Clear Trip, etc., to book airline tickets, hotels, etc., right? Now, if I design a travel product which has, say, 12 steps to complete a booking, it's not very efficient, right? We want to reduce the number of steps or number of actions that a customer has to perform to perform its needs, right? So even though a product may book your hotel in, say, 4 steps versus a product may book a hotel in, say, 12 steps, right? Product who books the hotel in 4 steps is way more efficient than product who books in 12 steps, right? So that efficiency matters a lot, right? Ultimately, they both are solving the same problem. They're allowing customers to book the hotels of their choice. But how easy it is, how efficient it is, what redundancies are coming up, they're removing, matters a lot in a successful product, right? A product that has a high user engagement is also one of the characteristics of a successful product. You can look at examples like Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Google search, a lot of high engagement. Whatever, an engagement is different for different products. The way they calculate engagement is different for different products. But you can easily understand, right, when you are using a product, how engaged you are in the product. Take Instagram, for example, right? It started with photo sharing. Now it has reels. Now it has stories. All things are done to keep you engaged, to keep you interacting with the product, right? So your engagement score should be high, right? How you measure engagement can vary from a product to product, but a successful product will always score high on the engagement. It has a low churn rate. When I say low churn rate, there is no set benchmark that a churn rate should be X% in a particular set of products, but you can identify it with a relatively low churn rate, right? Let's take an example of social media, right? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, right? You can do some benchmarking that what is the churn rate in Twitter, what is the churn rate in Facebook versus Instagram. The product which has a lower churn rate, you will always find people are highly engaged with that, and that is leading to a lot of success of that product. Right? It has satisfied customers, right? A successful product, people who are using or customers are using your great products, you will always find a sense of satisfaction in those set of customers. And one of the other important thing is there is a business sustainability, or the product has a clear path towards it, right? What I mean by that is we are also talking from a creator's expectations, right? A majority of creators who create products think about products as a business. So, and a business should be sustainable to sustain for a longer period of time. So that's why a business sustainability is important. Yes, in the beginning, your business model may not be very sustainable. You may have to rely on external fundings. Everything is okay. We have seen those examples, but even if you're not sustainable, if you're not profitable in the beginning, you should have a clear path towards it, right? So that is coming from a creator's perspective. So, and these are just few handfuls of characteristics that I'm talking about. There could be a bunch of other characteristics depending upon the type of product, the segment of the product that you're thinking about, right? Whether it's B2B, B2C, a lot of different characteristics may come in. Right? So now let's understand why we should measure product success, right? This is a great quotation from Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker was one of the finest management consultant, and he popularized this quotation, like, you cannot improve what you don't measure, right? And why I'm insisting on this particular quotation is that in the beginning, when we started, I told you that success is not final, right? So if you do not measure your success, you cannot improve when you're losing grounds, right? And if you're not measuring, you will not understand whether you have failed or success, right? So you have to measure what you're doing, and so that you can improve upon it, right? And not necessarily that you have to always improve upon it, but you should have an idea whether what you attempted to do, you are successful towards doing it at all, right? Now, with this, some of the important things why we should measure product success is, right? We would like to improve the efficiency of the product, right? So we all know about the funnel, right? You have customer acquisition, you activate customer, you retain customers, you convert customers, right? So there is a whole funnel that is different type of funnel that are available for different set of products. And if you want to improve funnel, you want to improve efficiency, and you can improve efficiency only when you start measuring it, what's really happening in your product, right? Where things are going wrong, where you have to improve on. Improve profitability and margin. We talked about business. If you do not track about some of the business metrics, then it will be very difficult for you to understand how you can improve your margins, how you can create a path towards profitability, right? And profitability, it could be, moving from negative returns to positive returns, or becoming net zero in returns, to improving or taking margins further ahead, right? If you have 10% of margins, how you can make it 12% margins. You can do it only when you measure it. Improving reliability and stability of the product, right? If you do not know how many times your systems are crashing, if you do not know when does it crash, like what is the load at which it crashes, then your product adoption would go down, because people will not rely on your product. So to improve the reliability and stability, you need to measure products. Reducing the churn rate. So If your customers are moving out of your platform or a product, right, you need to understand why, what is happening, right? And to understand what is happening, you need to have certain indicators which you can rely on to understand what is going wrong, right? Where I have to intervene systematically, process-wise, whatever that is, to reduce my churn rate. Right? And it could be as simple as that: how you grow traffic and user base. Right? So you may start your product in a particular market, but when you want to move towards different market, how would you grow your traffic, right? And whatever steps you're taking, your marketing, you're doing spends on digital marketing, you're doing spends on say print media, but is that really converting into traffic, or is it converting into user base? You won't know unless you measure that success of those campaigns, right? And also adjust to market conditions. In a current situation where a lot of economic there are a lot of talks about economic recessions, downturn, etc. How would you adjust to your market conditions, right? So when you know that your market conditions in today's scenario, right, when everybody's looking at staring at recession, right, then is it important for you to have more user base, or is it important for you to have more profits? That decision has to be made, right? Some of the strategic choices have to be made looking at the market conditions. And you can do that uh, only by measuring certain indicators, right? That will help you make some strategic choices, right? And with this, I would get into, how do you measure success, right? So measuring success uh, can, there are three steps, I would say, are important in measuring success. One is, how do you define your goals and objectives, right? It is really, really important. Like as we saw, right, you cannot improve what you do not measure. So uh, what when you start thinking about what to measure, it's really, really important to understand what your goal is, right? What your product stands for, what your business stands for, and where you want to take your product or business. And to define goals and objectives, there are many frameworks available, like OKRs, which is objectives and key results, HEART, SMART. There are many, many more frameworks, and you can define your own framework. Doesn't matter, right? The important thing is, do you really understand where your goal is, right? And in the I'll speak about some of the framework and go deeper in one of the framework in subsequent slides. But please understand, this concept of goals and objectives is really, really important, right? In life also, we also have our goals, right? We may want to reach to a certain position. We may want to have certain financial stability. You may want to do a lot of things in your life with your family, with your kids, etc. Right? So those are goals, right? Unless you understand what your goals are, you will not be, moving towards it, or you will be lost on how to go towards it, right? Then how do you, once you have goals, you really need to understand uh, some of the indicators, right, that will point to you whether you're moving in right direction or not with your goals, right? So to do that in a product world, we identify some of the KPIs and metrics, right? KPIs is key performance indicators. Metrics are quantifiable measurements, which can be understood as metrics. There are many ways you can categorize your KPIs and metrics: into business metrics, business KPIs, into system metrics, system KPIs. What are input metrics, output metrics, leading metrics, lagging metrics, L0 metrics, L1 metrics. There are many ways people categorize it, people talk about it. Not one category is, or there's no one classification which is better than the other. It is just what makes sense to you, right? But is it important to understand things like what is input metric and what is output metric? I'll give you an example, right? GMV, we all talk about GMV and revenues, right? It is an output metric. Why it is an output metric? Because to achieve a GMV or to achieve revenues, you need to sell number of products. You need to have certain number of customers, and they need to have, and the product needs to have a certain pricing, right? How many products you sell, how many users you have, Do you have better prices, not better? All these are input metrics that together will lead into an output metric called revenue, right? So why this is important? When you think about product, when you think about features, you really need to understand which input metric do you control and which output metric would you impact, right? So when we talk about metrics as a company, as an organization, you will have a better sense of which of the business metric or which of the output metric you will be directly contributing to. Right? Leading metrics versus lagging metrics. Leading is something that you on time, or you can measure instantly. Lagging is something that you have to wait for. So, for example, when we talk about averages, right? 7-day moving average, right? That's a lagging metrics because you have to calculate an average of a 7-day time period, right? That's a lagging metric. So you really need to understand when you're thinking about a metric or KPI, whether it's leading or lagging, so that you can monitor it appropriately, right? L0s and L1s are not very complex. It's L0 is your North Star metric, equivalent to your North Star metrics, and L1 is what all metrics that lead to your L1, or how do you classify that L0 metric into or distribute it into further smaller metrics, right? Once you define your goals, once you have defined your KPIs and metrics, you need to monitor it, right? There is no point in defining KPIs and metrics if your intention is not to monitor it. Monitoring will help you in understanding. This is the place where we understand whether we are ahead of the curve, where we are behind the curve, how much behind we are at. Do I need to intervene? Do I not to intervene? When do I do a retro? When do I understand? When do I celebrate my success? Right. And the way of monitoring is, we have different time frames. You could have an hourly KPI or a metric that you may want to track. It could be daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. Depends upon how do you define your KPI and metric, right? So this, and also, this is a cycle, right? You define goal, you identify your metrics, you monitor it, and when things are not working right, you again define goals and KPIs according to it, and then continue to monitor. So it goes into cycle, right? So it's not a one-time process where you do make your goals and objectives, define your KPIs, and once you start monitoring, you stop there. No, feedback is very important. Consider this as a cycle, right? Now, so when we are defining our goals, we have to be very smart in this to really understand how our goal should be, right? A wrong goal can set the complete organization or complete product or complete business. It could throw it out of the turn, right? So you have to very smart, spend time, understand the frameworks if you have to define a very objective goal that you can measure, right? Metrics, when you think about KPIs and metrics, it's very important to identify metrics that you can control, right? You cannot have, you should not be signing up for a metric that you cannot control, right? Otherwise, your interventions, your efforts in improving those metrics will not result into success, right? When you pick up many KPIs and metrics, you really need to understand what is the correlation and causation between the metrics, right? If I increase transactions per customer, it will lead to improvement in my GMV. It's very important to understand this, right? If I reduce my prices by 10%, will it improve the sales? Nobody can answer that without knowing whether you will have more customers or more people buying a product, right? So which metric causes an impact on other metric? Which metric is correlated to another metric? It's really very important so that you pick the right set of metrics. Remove vanity metrics. We'll talk about vanity metrics in a bit. Vanity metrics in a nutshell are metrics which looks good on paper, but actually do not help us in understanding anything about a product. Okay. When it comes to monitoring, choose right KPIs, choose right frequency and right thresholds to monitor. For example, when you talk about sales, uh, you know, maybe tracking sales every hour may not make sense for you, right? Unless it's a sale period, or if you're an e-commerce platform like a Flipkart or Amazon, right? Unless you're in a big sale period or sale time period, tracking sales by every hour may not make sense. There, tracking sales every week, every month, or every quarter may make more sense, right? Understand what is the right threshold. When your sales in the example of sales, when your sales are dropping, should I react after my sales have dropped after 5%, or what is the drop that I should react upon, right? You need to understand that threshold, where that value of a metric, when it goes beyond a certain limit, that warrants for someone to intervene and react on it. So what I'll do is, out of these frameworks today, I'll talk about OKRs and KPIs. Uh, OKRs and KPIs is one of the way on how you measure success, not necessarily the only way that you measure success. You could have your own frameworks and all, but OKRs and KPIs have served very well when I have been thinking about uh, my product goals, right? So OKRs stands for objectives and key results. Objectives are goals that you would like to achieve, and key results are certain outcomes that will help you understand that you have achieved goal. So it is very important to understand the difference between objective and key results, right? I'll take an example also in a minute, but uh, clarify this doubt, or clarify this concept, that objective is a goal, or it's maybe the ultimate destination where you want to go there, and key results is how you will understand that you have reached to your goal, right? And OKR is a framework to set goals. It is not a monitoring mechanism. Okay. It is just a framework to help you identify what should be the right goal. And key results will help you understand that if you achieve if you cross certain steps, you will, or you have achieved your goal, right? And KPI, key performance indicator, you could consider KPIs as the health of a system. System does not mean a technical system or a software product or a server or anything. A system could be anything. It could be a set of processes. It could be set of process and technology that can largely form a system. Right? KPI is not a framework, and KPIs, by the name itself, it's a key performance indicator, right? So it is there to help you monitor how your system is performing, right? Once you know that your system is performing well, then you're confident that you will achieve some of the key results. And if you achieve key results, then you're certain that you have achieved your goal. Let's take an example for this. So as a company, my objective could be, I want to be a market leader, right? Or I want to be number one player in this market. Right? That's my objective. That is my goal as a company. One of the key results could be, as long as I I will consider myself a market leader when I have market share of more than 40%. So now I have clearly articulated that what being a market leader is for me, right? Only when I get market share of more than 40%, I'll consider myself as a market leader. And how would I get market share of more than 40%, right? How can I understand some of, whatever I'm doing will help me achieve that market share of more than 40%. So say, for example, the sales growth year over year should be more than 20%. That's where you project that, okay, if my sales growth year over year is more than 20%, then maybe in 3 years time, 4 years time, I will start looking at achieving that result of being having a market share more than 40%. And that's where I'll become a market leader. One of the associated KPI could be that when people come and order, my average order value should be more than 3,000 rupees. And because my order value is so high, I'll have so many customers, and that may lead into capturing more market share in my segment, right? That is one way. I mean, that is just one example. You could also, to simplify, or to give you a very personal example, your objective could be, you want to be a healthy person, right? Or you want to get in shape. Right? then your key results will become that you should have your weight in a particular range. You can have a key result as your BMI, right? Body mass index, less than 25. Yeah, that would be a key result. And how would your KPI would be, right? To achieve certain key results, say you want to lose weight, you may say that, okay, if I walk 10,000 steps daily, that is my key result, right? I have to walk 10,000 steps daily so that I have, a calorie burn of, say, example, 600 calories in a day. If I do that consistently over a year, that will help me reduce my weight and to be healthy. Now, what your KPI should be in that case, right? Your KPI can be that your heart rate or beats per minute should not exceed more than 120 beats per minute. Now, what you're doing is you're monitoring yourself, your body, right? When you're becoming active to burn calories, you do not want to go beyond more than 120 beats per minute. And if you go there, then it's not healthy for you. So you have to calm down, right? So it's a very personal example that also you can relate and understand uh, the differences between objective key results and KPIs. Now, KPIs and metrics, you would have seen people talking KPIs and metrics together in a similar sentence, maybe interchangeably. But are they really same? Are they different? Is what we need to understand to get better sense of it, right? KPIs and metrics are actually different, right? And I'll talk about that. So KPIs are, you have KPIs because these are indicators. These are very focused towards strategic indicators, right? And KPIs is something that your larger set of teams would rally up behind, right? Metrics are not like that. Metrics are lower level. Metrics are very specific to a particular process or very particular to a department, whereas KPI is more broader. More than one teams or more than one departments can sign up for the same KPI, which can contribute. They can contribute to improving that KPI, right? KPI is always tied to an outcome, whereas metrics are not always tied to an outcome. It is very important to understand. If you have a KPI, if there is a change in KPI, it should result in an outcome. Otherwise, it's not a KPI, it's a metric, right? As I was saying, right, it is a very high level. It is relevant for many departments. Metrics are lower level. It's not very relevant to all the departments. Each department can have its own relevant metric, which they would like to optimize on. When they start optimizing for their own metric, together in our pockets, they start impacting a larger KPI and result into achieving an objective, right? KPIs are always used to make strategic decisions. Metrics are very, very operational and very, very tactical in nature. Right? I will see some of the examples of that as well, right? But there are certain similarities, certain confusions around KPIs and metric that also I would talk about. So both are quantitative measurements, right? They're not subjective, they're very quantitative when we start measuring them. As I said, they are not synonyms of each other, right? A KPI can be a collection of metrics, multiple metrics, and a KPI could be a derivation of a metric, or a KPI could be a complex formula which involves many metrics, which would give you one quantifiable number. And also, they are not mutually exclusive. What I mean by that, if they are not synonyms, that does not mean that they're mutually exclusive, and you can part them or think metric and KPI in complete isolations also, right? And one of the most important thing is all KPIs are metric, but all metrics are not KPIs. Very, very important thing to understand. Because you're saying KPIs are also quantitative measurements, in a way, KPI become a metric, right? But just because it's a quantitative measurement, it becomes a key performance indicator. That is not true. Reverse is not true, right? So let's take an example and build upon that example, right? So my objective was I want to be a market leader my key results was to have a market share of more than 40%. Some of the KPIs that I looked at was my average order value should be more than 3,000. My sales growth should year over year should be greater than 20%. And some of the metric that I would like to track or can I use, this is not an exhaustive list by the way, by any means, right? These are just some examples to help you understand. The metric is the number of products sold, right? Now just think about it. Numbers of products sold, right? You could track it hourly, you could track it every minute, you could track it weekly, you could track it quarterly, etc. Right? But just by tracking the number of products sold, are you really understanding what is the progress that you're making towards your goal? Right? You may be selling 10x more products, but without knowing at what price you're selling, and without knowing, because your products have increased 10x, is that really improving your sales growth? Then that metric is not helping you, right? Then that metric is just a metric, it's not a KPI, right? Similarly, daily visitors, you may have seen an improvement in daily visitors, but unless you're converting them into paid customers, the daily visitor is just a metric, not helping you in making a strategic decisions, unless you look at the conversion funnel. Similarly, whether you're getting more sales from a web or mobile, does it really matter if you're not able to achieve a sales growth, right? Customer returns in isolation is just a metric, right? It's, if it's not helping you understand any KPI, then it has no use, right? I mean, you cannot consider it as a KPI if not helping you to achieve your key results, right? So these are just examples, not an exhaustive list, right, by any means. And they may not be exactly correlated as well, but I brought this example just to help you understand these concepts. I hope this is clear. I move on to the next slide.
I was just thinking that if you could explain the same thing just quickly with the example of weight loss that we took earlier. So just so that people get more clearer idea.
Sure, wonderful. So in the weight loss example, my objective was to be healthy, right? My key results were that my body mass index should be less than 25, right? And my KPI that I took was that my heartbeat per minute should be less than 120 120 beats per minute, right? What could be a metric, right? My metric could be the number of steps that I'm walking, right? Or the number of kilometers that I run, right? Just by running a kilometers, or you could also have a metric like, how many times do you eat? Say, for example, I say my metric is I eat 4 times a day, right? Or I eat just once in a day just to manage my weight, right? But is that really helping? When I say I eat once in a day, how much calories I'm eating? And if I'm eating, say, 2000 calories in one meal, do I have a metric to measure how much I burn, right? Without knowing those those aspects, or without knowing those metrics, I'll not be able to successfully achieve or make progress towards KPI or towards key results. Was that helpful?
Yes, understood.
Yeah.
I guess that example will make people understand. Yeah. So Danshu says yes. So yeah, understood.
Okay, wonderful. So we have talked a lot about the frameworks, what is objectives, what is goals, KPIs, metrics, etc. Right? The next natural question would be, how do I know what is relevant to me? Right? How do I choose the right one? Right? But before we go there, I want to leave you with this thought. There is nothing quite so useless as done with great efficiency, something that should not be done at all. What it really means is, it's a precursor to choosing the right indicators. Is if you choose something and do with great efficiency, which you were not supposed to do at all, then it's completely useless. You're wasting your time, right? So in that sense, that will lead or it's a segue to understand how you choose the right metrics, right? So some of the important things you should do when you're choosing right measurements is how do you pick the right metric? How do you pick the right KPI? How do you pick right goals, etc.? Think about it, right? What is important to your business? What is really important to your business and product, right? When you're thinking up, when you're making a product like, say, a site for government department, right? Then does traffic matters? Does monetization matter? What is really important for you? Does efficiency matter? Adopt right goals accordingly, right? Choose KPIs that bring value to your goals and objectives, right? In an example where we said, I want to be a market leader, right? What if you're not having a KPI, uh, which is helping you understand whether you're moving towards your goal or not, then it's that KPI is not serving us well, right? Let's say in that same example where I want to be a market leader and I know that I have to grow my market share at 40%, more than 40%, by just having a KPI of conversion, that my conversion should be more than 10%, by just having that KPI, will that help me? Will that help me? I don't think it will help you just by tracking a conversion number, right? So you have to pick and choose those set of KPIs or those set of metrics that really help you understand where you're heading towards in your goal, right? And set realistic targets. Uh, it's really important. In our example where we say, I want to grow or I want to be a market leader and have market share of more than 40%. If looking at the market conditions, looking at the segment, looking at your competitor, looking at the type of users you have, set realistic sales goal, right? If everybody is growing at, say, 20%, you may want to grow at 30%. Yeah, good, right? But is it really possible? Or if you want to grow at 100%, is it really possible? Think about it and make right targets for you, right? Apply some science to it. Especially in terms of conversion, things like conversion, right? People, when you look at a conversion metric, uh, if you have conversion metric like 2% or 3%, and somebody comes and say, I want to double the conversion in a quarter or two, is it really feasible, right? Do you have enough traffic that you could convert, right? Do you have the right set of cohort users? Are you targeting right people that can lead to conversion, improvement in conversion? Think about it. Have a very realistic target, and there could be some scientific ways where you can achieve those realities. Set realistic targets, but just don't go by hunch or anything like that. Have some objectivity to it. Revisit KPIs. This is very important. As I said, it's a feedback and it's a cycle. When you think about goals and objectives, KPIs, etc., revisit KPIs every now and then. Is it really helping you understand? Is it really helping you improve? If not, then choose a better one, right? If there is no standard KPI that help you achieve your results, design one, right? But keep revisiting it. Don't be so particular that I have chosen this KPI and I'll stick to this KPI, even if it is not helping you. Don't do that. Set thresholds to understand when to react. I think we spoke about it a couple of minutes back. When you're when you're talking about your conversion funnel, right? If the conversion number of conversions drop by 5%, is that conversion drops by 5% on a day-to-day basis, is that really important for you to react? How do you know about it, right? You have to understand what is the conversion drop over a period of time, and the drop that day, is that more than what is the average drop, etc., right? Have those kind of objectivity around it, have those kind of discussions and thought process around it with your team and everyone, so that you react timely and you react when it's necessary, right? Use KPIs for prioritization of features. When you have the right KPIs, when you have the right key results, it is a wonderful thing to have when you want to prioritize features, right? Uh, as I said, right, KPIs can be used for making strategic choices, and we want to measure KPIs so that we understand our goals, we are moving goals. So if anything that is not contributing to move your KPI, just you can leave it for now, right? When you're building features. So think about that. Use KPIs extensively when you're prioritizing your features, and also understand the downside and the risk associated with KPIs. Very, very important, right? If you choose a particular KPI, if you choose a particular metric, what are the downsides to it? What are the risks associated with it? Right? If I say uh, choose conversion as one of my key KPIs, what are the downsides? What are the risks? Right? If a conversion drop, what it would mean? Would it really impact my GMV? Would it not? Would it impact my contribution margin? Would it impact my product margin? Have an understanding around it, right? Not necessarily that uh, just because it's some KPI is risky or some KPI has downsides, you do not choose KPI. You do not choose that KPI metric is not right thing. What I'm trying to tell you is that understand so that you have a very broadest, larger sense of what is really happening in KPI, right? And it will also help you choose one KPI or other, because there could be many KPIs, many metric. Uh, when you pick and choose what are the risks behind it, can help you choose the right KPI also, right? Some of the don'ts, when you're thinking about measuring, don't measure each and everything, right? There could be n number of things that you can measure. If you are measuring more than required, then you are actually measuring nothing, because it will lead to confusion, it will lead to chaos, and you will not know when a particular number is dropping. Is that the right place where I should react to it? Is that the right place where should I intervene, or where should I seek help? Right. So it's very important. Be selective. Ideally, in some people may say, you should have only one KPI. I would say anything between 2 to 4 KPIs or 2 to 5 KPIs is something, a really good set of KPIs that you should track. Beyond 5 and all, if you're going, you're losing your focus, right? Uh, Vanity metric. I see some people have raised their hand. If you want me to take a question, I can take a question now.
There are already 11 questions in the Q&A. Maybe
Okay,
once
let me finish that. You
once we
quickly.
finish, we can pick up all the questions.
Sure. Yeah. Vanity metric. You know, say for example, what would be a good example? If you have, uh, see, if you're selling cars, right, or uh, if you're making software for cars, right, obviously you want to sell more of your software. You want to have more of your license, but have knowing that how could you improve the traffic on that software? Will it help you? No, it's a vanity metric for you, right? If you're uh, so I'm sorry, I cannot get to a very good example of vanity metric, but you will always find some of the metric there where you do not have a direct correlation, and you will understand that that movement of metric up or down is not at all impacting to your product, right? If you find that kind of a metric, it's a vanity metric, and just remove that vanity metric from your tracking or monitoring, right? Picking KPI and metric with no correlation or correlation, don't do that, right? Have a sense of KPIs and metric that are correlated to each other or have a causation. Not necessarily that you have to monitor it, but understand that, if you change something, if you create a feature that is going to make, say, uh, improve the transactions per customer, monthly transactions per customer, would it really help you improve the GMV? Would it really help you in improving the conversion? We don't have that kind of understanding, right? If you improve the retention, right, in a e-commerce example, if you improve the retention of customers, is it really helping you improve the transactions per customer? Have that kind of sense of understanding, right? And don't pick features that don't move the KPI. It's just waste of time. When I say that, it's coming with nuances. Some of the features, like which are required from a legal perspective, which are required from a compliance perspective, may not directly improve your KPI or goals, but those are required. Please do that. That does not mean that you do not have to do anything related to legal or compliance. But when you get a request where you do not understand how that feature will help you move the KPI or help you move that metric, you can deprioritize that feature in favor of spending your resources well, where you can create more ROI, right? And to understand or validate your KPIs, you could use certain frameworks like Smarter. Smarter is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. You can evaluate it and you can reevaluate it. It's a very good framework to understand the KPI that you have chosen is the right KPI. Is it very specific? If it is very complex and is difficult to explain, don't do it. Make it very, very specific. Can you measure it? If you're not able to measure anything, like if you're not able to measure an engagement, and if you're just talking about engagement, does not make sense. Right? Understand how you can measure an engagement. Engagement could be number of likes, it could be number of comments, it could be a mix and match of likes and comments on a social media platform, but have some formula to measure it. And can you attain it? Right? Having an engagement score of 100, can you really attain it? Depends upon how you design your KPI, right? So choose KPI that is attainable, relevant. For social media platform, an engagement is a relevant metric, but for a B2B platform, engagement may not be that relevant a metric to track. Right? Is it time bound? Can you time box it when you are monitoring it? Very important. Can you evaluate it, reevaluate it, so that you understand what you're doing or not doing great? That is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is 6A. Smarter and 6A are two different frameworks. And you can use it either ways, or you can think of a very different way also. Anything is fine. It's just helping you to understand what is right measurement, right? Sorry, this is repeat a slide. Now coming to, I'm just reaching towards the end. We have spoken so much about success, but please note, success is not same for all the products, right? You may have the same type of KPIs, you may have the same type of goals, but still the success is not same for all products. I'll take some examples. When you compare Netflix and SAP, right? Your revenues may be the same KPIs, same key results, but Netflix making $1 billion versus SAP making $1 billion, that success is not same, right? Netflix may still be struggling with $1 billion and SAP may still be successful at a $1 billion. Two different things, same KPIs, but success is totally different. Similarly, Netflix and Hotstar are part of the same category of products, but the target cohort for Netflix is very different from the target cohort of Hotstar, right? So your revenue, your engagement, your views per minute, the content views per minute, the content slide, etc. A lot of things would be very similar in Netflix and Hotstar, but the criteria of success would be very different, because remember, what is the expectation of the creator? The people who created Netflix has a very different expectation from their product versus people who created Hotstar, right? They're going behind very different market segments. So success is always not same, and for all products. Similarly, Swiggy and Microsoft Office, right? You may use Office every day. You may use Swiggy also every day. But can you compare these two products in a success? No, that's really not possible. Similarly, Ola and Paytm, you may use Ola multiple times in a day, and you may use Paytm also multiple times in a day. Ola may also look for retention. Paytm may also look for retention. Ola may look for transaction per customer. Paytm may also look for transaction per customer. They may also look for customer lifetime value. Everything, some of the number of metrics type of metrics would be very similar. KPIs would be very similar, but success is not same. For Ola, having a one transaction per customer may be a success. For Paytm, having 5 transactions per customer per day still may not be successful. So please try and understand, there is no one easy answer and no one size fits all kind of success for all products, right? Be very smart, understand about your product, and be very smart in your goals and objectives and KPIs to measure your success. With this, I like to end the session by saying great things in business are never done by one person. It is done by a team of people. So when you think about product success, right, it's not just about one person, right? There is a team involved in creating that product, in creating that business, and in also to monitor that success, managing day-to-day operations. So be grateful, be acknowledge, be cognizant of that whatever great things you're achieving is just not by one person. It's a collective effort of a team of people. With that, I would like to end the session. Thank you so much for listening to me, and let's get into Q&A.
Yeah, that was a wonderful session, and you really shared a lot of insights. And I'm sure people are not just going to use it in their professional life, they can definitely use it in their personal life as well. So it was very, very informative and very productive day, I'm sure. So there are a lot of questions in Q&A, and I was going through the Q&A. So one question that is common that we can sum up and take is people have asked how often or how frequently do you change or select your KPIs or OKRs? So yes,
Okay.
metrics. So how do we do that?
So how often? Unfortunately, there's no one straight answer to it. How often? I think the frequency should be depending upon uh, the nature of the business, right? The speed of the business. If you take example of companies like Amazon, Flipkart, Ola, Uber, some of the objectives may change quarter over quarter. Some of the objectives may not change year over year also, right? So it all depends upon what goals you're setting, right? Uh, and the feedback or the retrospective that you do on those goals and objectives is really important, and that will help you decide whether you should change it or not change it, right? Say for example, if you started with number of users that you want to improve or you want to increase the number of users on your platform, and when you are uh, building features for that, right, you're doing growth hacks to get more set of users on your platform. At a moment you'll realize that, okay, now I have good sense of users, a good set of users. Now let's start monetizing, right? So that's where you change your objectives and goals, right? And again, there's a quarterly refresh, there's a half-yearly refresh, there is annual refresh. Also depends upon how your company likes to work, right? What are their long-term and short-term objectives? uh, it's totally dependent on that. There's no single formula on what is the right time to refresh it.
Understood. So the next question that we can pick up is by Dorothy, if I'm not pronouncing your name wrong. So the question is, in case of disruptive times like COVID, let's say, you don't know really where the market is moving. How do you then set realistic targets or thresholds for yourself?
A great question, right? Yes, you're right. When disruption kinds of that kind of a disruption happens, all targets, all thresholds, we have to reevaluate. Right? It is our prudent effort, and it's our what do you say? Other than prudent effort, it's just an understanding of the broader market conditions that will help us understand whether those thresholds can be maintained or not maintained, and is it really okay to break those thresholds or dismantle those thresholds for now, right? When COVID happened, right, every company understood that you cannot meet your sales target, you cannot meet the same kind of growth, right? So they understood, and collectively, if even if you're not reaching to your thresholds, if you're breaking your thresholds, your organizations allowed you some flexibility, gave you some slack around it, because those market conditions are really, really unpredictable, right? And very, very disruptive. Nobody could even great economists could not predict what would happen in market, right? Likewise, people who understand the industry very well, people who understand e-commerce very well, could not predict the kind of growth that e-commerce will get, right? So when disruption is an exception, I would say, right? When we talk about exception, there is no rule that applies. It's just getting or not getting, but making better sense of what is really happening around you that will help you in that scenario.
Okay. That's a great answer, I would say, because exceptions are always there, and then in exceptions you cannot move by your normal vision or normal
Right.
roadmap. So yeah. Uh, so there's a question by Aarti Yadav. What if there is initial trade-off with another KPI aligned with organizational goal? Let's say a new launch product has enhanced the number of orders, but average order value has dropped. How to go about it?
Okay. Good question. Again, I would like to go back into understanding what your objective was, right? So you did a feature which has improved the number of orders, right? But at the same time, reduce the order value. But together with these two changes, are you still able to manage your growth rate, sales growth rate, or GMV growth rate, or revenue growth rate? That's what you have to look into. And that's where you understand the trade-off. So a 10% increase, I'm just making this an example, a 10% increase in customers or new orders at a cost of say 5% drop in order value is sustainable, right? But a 10% increase in new orders with a trade-off of 20% drop in order value may not make sense, right? Together, where they're helping you reach is what you have to understand to make a trade-off. Hello.
She has understood, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we'll just take a one last question. It's by Samida. Could you please explain about vanity metric with example, also matrices with no correlation or causation?
Okay. Let's take an example of traffic uh, or user traffic on a website, right? So let's say we are in an e-commerce company, right? And you are responsible as a product manager, you're responsible for a homepage, right? What gets displayed on the homepage, right? So one of your metric could be to improve the traffic. If you take, traffic as your important metric. So as a product manager for homepage, right, you do not control how many people land up on your page, right? But you can control once once customers are on the homepage, how do you take how do you enable those customers to take next set of actions, right? How do you improve your discovery? How do you improve conversion? Those kind of things, right? That control you have. At the same time, the number of customers landing on a homepage could be a very important metrics for a marketing team which is running ad campaign on televisions or print media or social media, right? So for you as a product manager for a homepage, the number of people, because you really do not have a control on how people are discovering your homepage, right? So you cannot influence that metric. So for you, the number of people landing on your homepage could be a vanity metric, but conversion, discovery would be an important metric for you. But the number of people or the traffic that is coming on your homepage could be looked from a different perspective also, that you want to design your homepage system to address the scale up in the number of users, right? So from that sense, it can become important. But when you're looking at a conversion only, a discovery part of only, then the number of people landing on your homepage, or how you can increase the number of, so the better way to put it is how you can increase the number of people coming to your homepage. When you're just thinking about discovery metric, a conversion metric, etc., that number of people is a vanity metric for you, but not a vanity metric for a marketing campaign.
Understood. I'm sure Samida
And
and everybody has understood by that example.
and same thing we can think about causation and correlation. Uh, when you're thinking about conversion, right? You have normally the top of the funnel is broader and the end of the funnel is narrower, right? If you're seeing the funnel is getting narrower and narrower, right? You can start correlating that if your number of people are not converting, right? But you see the number of people revisiting your homepage are more,
On the homepage,
right?
it's very high.
So there is no causation. Like people who are ideally, what would you expect that if there are no more people on your homepage, it should lead to more conversions, right? That is a simple understanding, but is that really a causation, right? That just because you have more people on your homepage, that will lead to more conversion. That you have to really understand. However, there is a correlation, right? If you do not have enough people on your homepage, then it will not lead to higher conversion. That is for sure. Correct. But higher number of conversion is just because of you have more people on homepage. That may not be necessarily true.
Yes. So with that, that's the last question. And Ayush has very nicely made everyone understand. And thank you so much for the session, Ayush. And I've also shared the feedback form, everyone. Please go ahead and fill the feedback form and let us know how much did you love the session, because I truly loved the session a lot. Thank you so much, Ayush, for
Thank
taking
you.
up the session. It was
Thank you,
amazing.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, once again to taking out time from out of your Sunday morning. Thank you, Insaid and Tamsha, for giving me this opportunity. I
Our
really enjoyed and look forward to many more sessions like this.
Definitely, definitely. We really want to hear more from you, because you, like with all the experience that you hold, you have explained such complex things so nicely. I'm sure everybody loved it. And we are going to have you next time for sure.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It was a
Bye.
great session. Thanks, Ayush.
Thank you. Bye. And yes, do feel the feedback. It will help me understand also. Again, today's topic was measurement, so let me understand how much I was successful.
Yeah, nice. Yes, please go ahead and fill the feedback form. I'm putting the feedback form again. Please go ahead and fill the feedback form and let Ayush know his success rate.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.